Welcome to Lonely at the Top, a podcast for high-level leaders carrying the invisible weight of the world. Because you know the higher you rise, the fewer people you can safely talk to. Here we welcome founders, executives, and decision-makers who feel the isolation and pressure that comes with power. Lonely at the Top is your sanctuary in the storm. And I'm your host, Soul Medic and former psychotherapist Rachel Alexandria. Today it's just us. I want to be offering some more solo episodes to just give you a little bit more insight from where I sit in my place of counseling and supporting leaders and just what I tend to think about when I record these episodes and observations I have from my background, both in psychology and spirituality. Today, what I wanted to talk about is something that came up for me a little bit during Mark Silver's episode. We talked a lot about spirituality in different forms during that conversation. And a lot of my clients talk to me about things like, how do I know? How do I know what to listen to? How do I know what's my gut versus my heart? And how do I know the right steps to make, the right choice to make? How do I know when it's the universe guiding me versus my own decision making? I have come to sit in a very different place with this than I used to. I do think we get a lot of information from, now science is starting to say we have 3 brains. We have a head brain, a heart brain, and a gut brain. Maybe I will try and find the science and put that in the show notes, but we'll see if I get to it. But we get different information from those places, and everybody's a little different in how they know and receive that information. This is part of what I'm working with clients on all the time is, how do you know how to trust yourself, especially if when you grew up, the people around you told you not to listen to what you thought you knew inside yourself and instead to believe them? Whether that was maybe an oppressive culture upbringing or a very demanding religion or parents who weren't the healthiest. A lot of the clients I work with are trying to relearn how to trust themselves even when the world isn't necessarily validating them. And also, there's only so much validation you can seek, even if everyone around you who you now love and trust is saying, yeah, this is a good mode, or this is a good plan, or you're doing enough. You're not going to trust yourself if you've never learned how to do that. So there's the psychological aspect of learning to do that and connecting with yourself and with your parts, learning to harmonize between your brain and your gut and your heart. And there's also listening to what I would call spirit. You'll hear in Mark's episode, he talks a lot about, and you kind of see him exemplify this, like listening deeply and making a practice of listening deeply. And you might wonder, what is one listening to? How do you know when you hear it, right? And that's one question that I think takes time and practice. One of the things I have written about before is spirit almost never says things with urgency or anxiety. If it has fear or anxiety in what you're receiving, that's probably coming from a part of you. That's coming from something else that's not spirit. Because spirit relays things from a timeless place where there's no such thing as urgency. Not really. So everything that I ever really know that I hear from spirit is calm, and it is not demanding or commanding or imperative. It's just, here's this piece of information. And so part of the difficulty, or the nuance, I should say, with wanting to wait for direction from the universe, from spirit, is you can only partner with it because it is relatively neutral as far as, it's not a person. It doesn't have personal psychology, spirit or God, or however you want to define this. And some of you may have backgrounds that disagree with me, which is fine. How I'm talking about this may not work for you. From my understanding, spirit is neutral. It cares about everything in creation, but it is not judging us or having preferences. really. What it does is partner with us. And so when you're seeking to know a direction to go, you have to put energy and impulse into it. It's almost like the idea that objects at rest tend to stay at rest and objects in motion tend to stay in motion. Like you get to put something into motion and then get a response. There is a mirroring, there is a responding that the universe or spirit will do, but it's almost never, I would say very rarely, initiatory. Like we're the ones who take initiative. We're the ones who partner with spirit to get information, to take action, to be like, okay, is this working? Give me insight, like to ask. And what I loved about Mark's episode that he talked about for a fair bit was he took the time to do his personal work to really identify better how to name what he needs. And that works so much better in personal relationships and in professional relationships to be able to articulate, okay, I'm having a problem and here is what the kind of thing I want in response from you. And this is also true in our relationship with the divine, with the infinite, with the universe. When you say, I have a problem, I don't know, do something about it, that's not likely to be very successful because we're here to be in our sovereignty, to be in leadership of our own lives. And instead, when you go to spirit or the divine and say, okay, very specifically, I want to get a clear feeling of, is this like, here's the choice I want to make. And I want some clarity about, is this for my highest good? Like a question I have often asked in years past when my business wasn't doing as well as I needed it to was, should I just quit and find a job? And I have asked that very specifically and looked for answers and tried to be as open as possible to hearing whatever I need to hear. Like I'm not in this lifetime to be in opposition to what is for my greatest good. You know, like I am here to learn to be adaptable, to work with the flow of life, not against it. They call it pushing the river. I don't want to push the river, you know? So every time I've done that, and one notable time I can remember, I was doing a constellation for those who know family constellations or systemic constellations. I'm also a facilitator. And so I set a bunch of objects up as representatives for a choice. And I was talking to a friend across the table. We were at one of my favorite restaurants in Seattle. Shout out to Saffron Indian Cuisine. And I was talking to my friend and explaining things and kind of going through my process. I don't even remember the conversation, but I had set up objects on the table to represent things. And I had set up like a water glass, was full of water, as this represents me just quitting and getting a job, if that's in my highest and best interest. So we're talking and exchanging. It's a busy restaurant, lots of things going on. And then I kind of, come back to what I'm working with, looking at these objects, and I'm going to move them around and see how they feel, like using them as a way to test my knowing and receive information. And the glass of water that I had set up as quit, the option to quit, had been removed from the table. I didn't even notice. One of the bussers had come by and cleared off something from they did this constantly. This restaurant is very well maintained. They had taken away my water glass. They had taken away that glass, and it had been removed from the table. And that to me felt like a very clear message, but I had made a very clear request. So that is my take on those of you who might be in the quandary of like, what should I do? I'm waiting for guidance from the universe. I would say get clearer on what your ask is and what you need as a response. Like specify your need because it will help you in your communication with people and with the divine. That's it for today. So thanks for listening to Lonely at the Top. If today's conversation resonated with you, I hope you'll check in with yourself and see what you might be carrying, because you don't have to carry it all alone. I work with high performers and leaders who want to clean up their secret messes, and you can learn more at my website, rachelalexandria.com. You might not know, but I also do magic sessions, which are standalone sessions to just help people get real fast clarity, get some deeper insight, because that is one of my specialties. So you can find out more about that at my website, rachelalexandria.com. If you know another leader who needs to hear this message today, please send this episode to them because, yeah, it's lonely at the top, but it doesn't have to stay that way.